Today we are going to read The Letter, and it is written by Dhumketu. But before we go on to read the story, let me introduce you to the author himself. Gauri Shankar Govardhan Das Joshi, better known by his pen name Dhumketu, was born on the 12th of December 1892 at Virpur, a place near Rajkot and Gondal in the state of Gujarat. He was a prolific writer and is considered still as one of the pioneers of the Gujarati short story. He published 24 collections of just short stories, collections, as well as 32 novels of social and historical subjects, even plays and travelogues. Just imagine the amount of his writing. He won the rare honor to represent India in a book published in the USA with the title Stories from Many Lands. And this was a collection of the best short stories from 60 countries. And his story, The Letter, which we will do today, had found a place in it. In the grey sky of early dawn, stars still glowed, as happy memories light up a life that is nearing its close. An old man was walking through the town, now and again drawing his tattered clothes tighter to shield his body from the cold and the biting wind. From some houses came the sound of grinding mills and the sweet voices of women singing at their work. The sounds helped him along his lonely way. The whole town was wrapped in deathly silence. Most of its inhabitants were still in the arms of sleep, the sleep which grew more and more profound on account of the intense winter cold. For the cold used sleep to extend its sway over all things, even as a false friend lulls his chosen victim with caressing smiles. The old man, shivering at times, but fixed of purpose, plodded on till he came out of the town gate onto the straight road. Along this, he now went at a somewhat slower pace, supporting himself on his old staff. At the end of the garden stood a handsome building of the newest style. Light gleamed through the crevices of its closed doors and windows. On the arch hung an old board with newly painted letters, Post Office. The old man went in quietly and squatted on the veranda. The voices of 2 or 3 people busy in their routine work could be faintly heard through the wall. Name after name rang out from within as the clerk read out the English addresses in the letters and flung them to the waiting postman. In the midst of this procedure, jesting voice from inside called, "Coachman Ali!" The old man got up, raised his eyes to heaven in gratitude, and stepping forward, put his hands to the door. So the writer begins the story by describing a cold morning. Firstly, he describes a grey sky in the wee hours of the morning, and here the grey sky kind of refers to the color of the sky at dawn, that is often known as daybreak. It is the time when the stars are visible still in the sky, but the night is coming to an end and soon the sky would brighten up and welcome the day. Alright? So now the writer draws a comparison of a life nearing its end to the grey sky at dawn. He compares the shining stars in the sky to the sweet memories of young age, which brings happiness to an otherwise dull life of an old age which is, quite frankly, nearing its end. Next, we are introduced to the main character of the story so far, the old man himself, Ali. He is walking slowly through the town. He is constantly pulling his torn and shredded clothes and wrapping himself in them to protect himself from the cold and the chilly wind. As it is very early in the morning, the street through which he is passing is void of people. There was hardly any sound. Forget anything else. There was hardly any sound in the wee hours of the morning except the occasional bark of a dog or footsteps of people going to work that can be heard from a long distance. Now the old man is shivering due to the cold, but he is firm and he is determined to walk. Eventually he arrives at the town gate onto the main road, and by the time he reached the straight road or the main road, he got more tired, which made him even slower. But with the support of his old shredded clothes, he keeps covering himself and he just continues walking. Now the road that he is walking through is lined with trees on one side and a public garden on the other. Now at the end of the garden, there is a beautiful building constructed in the latest architectural style. The board hanging from the arch of the building says that this is the post office, and it seems that for the old man, the post office seems to be a sacred place, you could say. The light is coming out of the narrow openings of the closed doors and the windows of the post office. This indicates that the post office is already open, and he enters the post office quietly, sits on the veranda. He can hear some voices through the wall. Now, as the old man is waiting on the veranda, he hears some voices through the wall. He is eager to hear what they're saying. Now, there were letters for the collector, the superintendent, the police, Diwan Sahib, and the librarian, and so many more. In the din of the calling out of these names, a voice suddenly called out Coachman Ali. Finally, we have the old man's name, and when he heard his name being called out, he stood up slowly, thanked God by looking up at the ceiling, and reached the door. Whose letter is he waiting for, and why is he so desperate to get this letter? Tutormate. For more amazing video lectures, download the free app on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store.